Welcome to the Resilience Project podcast. I'm Julie Brumley, your host. I'm a trauma-informed adoptee coach and somatic healing guide. After walking through my own deep abandonment wounds, I now help adult adoptees move from feeling lost and disconnected to experiencing profound self-belonging. I know what it is like to carry the weight of abandonment, to feel stuck in patterns of longing, adapting, and searching for belonging. My own healing has taught me this. The answers aren't out there. They've been buried within me all along. And now I'm here to guide you home to yourself. This isn't just another podcast of stories told. It's a space to feel the stories our bodies have carried for decades. A place where adoptees can find belonging, not by performing or perfecting, but by gently turning inward. Each episode explores the somatic side of adoption, the sensations, the memories, the truths that live beneath our words. You'll hear reflections, conversations, and embodied practices to help you reconnect with the wisdom your body's been holding all along. Because resilience isn't about pushing through, it's about coming home to yourself. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Resilience Project. I had another episode planned for this week, but after the interactions that I had been having on the socials, I realized that there was another video from about a year ago, right before I went to Italy last summer, that I felt I needed to share with y'all. So this is something that I posted on back in July of 2024. And it was the first time I had ever shared this publicly. And I felt like it really applied and followed directly after what I had already recorded for y'all for the last episode. So without further ado, here is the next podcast episode for you. And I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are. Please feel free to DM me. All of my links are in the show notes at the bottom, so you can decide which way you want to communicate with me. But I love hearing your feedback and comments, and I look forward to it. Have a great Thursday. Betty, welcome to Camp Hope for Kids, where I have been on staff for the last 10-ish years. This is the year where I am serving and volunteering with my kids. It's really, really fun. I've been sitting on this for about a week, trying to figure out how to talk about it. And I was just reading in Lisa TerKeurst's book, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. And this gave me my launch pad moment for how to proceed talking about this. She talked about forgiveness. Obviously, that's what the book is about. But she said forgiveness isn't just about what's in front of us. Sometimes a bigger part of the journey is uncovering what is informing us from long ago. What's really interesting about this is when I was getting my master's degree back in 2009, I was living in Maui, which was unreal. Highly recommend. And I was going to school online at Liberty University. And I had to fly to Lynchburg, Virginia, for what was called intensives to be able to actually get my master's degree in counseling. I needed to be on property for a certain amount of time. And the first class that I took was about basically like counseling techniques, and we had to practice. And one of my professors was a foster parent, and we were supposed to be sharing, or we did share all of those things in our lives that, you know, she wanted to know our stories basically. And so I had shared, I'm adopted, and I didn't really think there was anything to it. I just shared it. That was a part of my story. And she paused everything, singled me out, and said, I'm a foster parent. I need you to know that you have to deal with the skeletons in your closet before you get this master's degree. And I just kind of looked at her with like deer in headlights. Like, what are you even talking about? She said, you absolutely have skeletons in your closet because of your adoption. And if you don't deal with them, you will harm people in your practice. It floored me because, of course, I was like, what skeletons? What are you talking about? There's nothing, I'm fine. Well, that was the beginning of me realizing I'm actually not fine. And she understood that I was not fine. She knew that there was trauma from that part of my journey that uncovered things that were informing me from long ago that I didn't even know were. So all that to say, she started me coming out of the fog, as adoptees say. Now, back then, I didn't even know what that meant. I'd never heard that term until 3 years ago. She was the one who said, deal with the skeletons in your closet. I needed somebody to slap me across the face with that information to even know that there was something underlying the surface of the things in my body, all that stuff that I've talked about in the past. I did not realize that it was an issue at all. So I get back from this intensive and I decided I've got to find my birth mom, because if I don't, I'm going to harm people. So I decided to do that. So I called California, the Department of Health and Human Services, and got my social worker. Her name was Terry Meeks, and I'm putting her name out there just because she was unbelievable and helpful. And as I was telling her my story, I was like, I'm getting my master's degree, and my professor told me that I was going to have skeletons in my closet if I didn't find my birth mother or find my history. And if I didn't actually deal with all of this, and I don't even know what she's talking about, but I'm following through because I'm an Enneagram 1. And so I am obedient and I'm a perfectionist. I do whatever I'm told to do. And she proceeded to say to me, and California is one of the hardest states to get your information. You still can't get your information. We aren't allowed to get our birth certificates. I've already talked about that in a previous live. But she said to me, these were her words, I know the degree that you are getting because mine is similar, and I'm going to send you more information than normal because I know you need to address this. And I was like, okay, great. And then she said, I'm going to redact the information because we have no consent for contact on file, meaning I'm going to black out names. But usually all they send you is 1-page document with non-identifying information. This was a 6-page document, which that's unheard of for somebody in California. And it had a play-by-play of like a summary, like social workers' notes from the times with my birth mother that they were basically communicating with her and helping her and counseling her through the whole process. When I talked to her, my social worker, again, she said, I'm sending this information to you, but I need you to be prepared. Please take some time to journal before you read it because it's gnarly. Those were her words. And I was like, what does that even mean? I don't even know how to prepare for that. So when I journaled, what I journaled about was basically, I have a feeling that my birth mother was potentially a prostitute, a vagabond, somebody who, and I knew nothing, you guys, somebody who, didn't have a home. Yeah, that's basically what I journaled. I have to go back and look exactly what I wrote. That would be interesting to see. We got the packet, and my husband at the time decided he wanted to read through it first while I journaled some more. And as he read through it, when he finished and I was ready to read it, he goes, I don't want you to read this. And I was like, it's my history. I need to read it. There's skeletons in my closet, apparently, and I have to deal with it. And so he was like, I really don't want you to read this. This is intense. And I've already shared about some of this, but this is how it happened. And I said, you need to let me read my story because it's mine and I need to figure out how to navigate this. So I took the documents and I started reading. And I didn't realize this till much later, but I only read to the place where it said that she had attempted to abort me twice. And at that point, my brain literally fragmented
into different pieces. I don't even know how to describe it. It felt like a dish was thrown inside my head and shattered. That's what it felt like. It was the first time. Wow, I'm getting emotional. It was the first time I was able to understand where those subconscious beliefs came from, where the I'm defective, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable. It was like at that point when it fragmented and shattered, it was like that's confirmation of the fact that I was unwanted, that all of that. So I was like battling and trying to figure out, how do I get out of that? How do I move through all of that? And I remember shutting the door to the office, asking my then husband to leave so that I could have some time to just kind of sit with that information and get to a good place. It shattered me. But what I got to after sitting with it was, man, I was meant to be here. I'm here for a purpose. And so I got to figure out what that is. If you know me, I'm a very hard worker and I will work on myself sometimes to my detriment. And what I mean by that is I'll hide behind the work and I won't connect with you because of my rejection and abandonment issues, which I feel like I'm still healing, but I feel like I'm doing much better in that area. And so that was the beginning of this journey for me. It was somebody actually calling me out and saying, you have skeletons in your closet, and if you don't deal with them, you're going to harm the people that you are trying to help. And she was not wrong, because I needed to deal with those. I was carrying that stuff inside of me without words or language for it, which I've talked about before, because all of it happened before I had words or language or the ability to talk. And when Lisa Turkers this morning said, a bigger part of the journey is uncovering what is informing us from long ago. For me, and I really truly do believe all adoptees, there is this underlying primal trauma that informs their present day life. And until they're able to really face it and deal with it, it's going to be something that impacts them and impacts their relationships and shows up in patterns, in their negative patterns in their relationships, of basically fleeing a relationship when someone gets close, or, running towards something. And then like a relationship, and as soon as that person runs back or comes back, we run the opposite direction because we are afraid of rejection. We are afraid of abandonment. So it's I'll leave first before they do. There are really negative patterns and emotions that surface because of what we have experienced as adoptees. And what I have learned is, in order to be able to move through and begin healing, which is an active process, I don't think anybody will ever be healed past tense. We will constantly be healing. But in order to be able to do that, we have to have the awareness. We have to have awareness that something is needing to be uncovered that is informing our lives from long ago. And for adoptees, it's that primal trauma. It's the trauma that we experienced when we were relinquished at birth. In the 70s and 80s, you were relinquished, and more often than not, and never saw your birth parent, ever. And what's sad about that is, from the minute you are born, well, and even before that, because for my situation, when she attempted to abort me twice, there was a subconscious belief that I wasn't wanted, that I was rubbish, that I was supposed to be discarded. Like, all of that I carried into my life pre-verbally. So all that to say, I needed somebody to smack me across the face and say, not physically, you know what I'm saying, and say to me, you've got skeletons in your closet that you need to deal with because of your adoption. And the reason she knew that was because she had foster kids and she saw how much it had harmed them. So I say all of that because I hear a lot from people. well, I'm adopted, but I don't have anything going on under the surface, I would gently challenge that notion, but only when you're ready. I didn't realize that I was ready at the time, but I was obedient. And so I decided to follow through. And what it led to was this whole process of me beginning to heal and me beginning to become aware of what had impacted me and me begin to face the shame of what I experienced and the guilt that I felt in searching for my birth family. Because, I mean, there was so much guilt. So many people would say to me, you need to be grateful for what you had. At least you weren't raised in some craziness. And I'm just like, okay, there's a difference between being grateful for what you have and feeling guilty because you can't go back and understand your history and your culture. Like, and my biology. Like, as soon as I was able to realize what my biology was and see my face reflected in my birth father and my sisters, I didn't understand what that felt like. And I needed to have the foundation and awareness that this had impacted me for me to be able to have the ability to process. And it's big. That's huge to be able to meet these people who are your biology. It's hard to even put words to now for me. The best way for me to describe it is it was soul discovering. And I was able to learn through all of that, through the shame spirals that came through all of the things that I've described and the guilt that I felt and the loss that I didn't understand until that professor basically shocked me into dealing with it. Once I was able to do that, I was able to get to a place of acceptance and compassion because I understood the trauma that I experienced. That makes sense. No wonder I have all this crazy stuff going on in my head. No wonder I am living according to these subconscious beliefs. I need to show myself compassion here and be able to regulate my system because it was never taught to be regulated in those first 7 weeks of my life. And then what ended up happening was I pushed people away because if you got close, you'd leave too. That is just the reality and the truth of what we've experienced. From there, I had to take responsibility for my own emotions. I had to process through them. I had to bring them to the awareness. I had to vocalize them. I was so afraid to before. I was numb to them. Emotions, feelings, back in the 70s and 80s weren't things that people really knew how to process through, weren't things that people really knew how to navigate. And so I don't blame anybody. I just numbed them. I learned to numb them. And then what ended up happening is they were stored in my body. And so I had a bad back growing up. I had hay fever, a lot of allergies. There was a lot of things going on that I now think were related to the fact that I was holding this negative energy in my body. Once I began to realize that emotions are energy and I need to release them, that's when I began to actually transform into a different person. And that's where the transformation began, was being able to recognize how my emotions impact my current state. And if I can have the courage to communicate what is going on, and if I can allow God into those experiences and allow him to heal what is going on within me and bring him into all of those things and those around me that are trusted, kind of like I was talking about in my reel a couple of days ago, like the rage that I felt at the fact that she attempted to abort me twice, I needed to express and release from my body that emotion. It was so powerful. And then from there, I was able to find love for myself. I was able to go, I am worthy of love. I was worthy of love all along, but I had to believe it. I had to recognize that interdependence is where it lies. Interdependence, meaning including people in your life, not codependence, which means you enable, you control, you manipulate, you find identity in other people versus within yourself, or independence, which I swung to that pendulum. Like, I got this. I'm fine. I don't want to include anybody in my life because if I include them in my life, then they're going to hurt me anyway. So why would I do that? Well, it's easy for us as adoptees, and everybody can do this, to swing back and forth between codependence and independence. Interdependence is what's healthy. And I was able to find that within my relationship with myself, my relationship to my God, my relationship to myself. Then I was able to have a healthy relationship with others because two whole individuals are what make a good relationship. I really believed that my husband at the time was going to be what completed me, that if he said everything was okay, I was going to be okay. My belonging does not come from other people. It comes from within me. That shift has made all the difference in my life and has provided so much healing to me. And so that's what I'm offering you through my program. And I hope, against all hope, that you adoptees who are feeling on the fence or like you don't really know if this is what you need, that you will reach out to me. And I'm here. I'm here to answer questions. I love having conversations about this. I truly believe that I have found my purpose, that purpose that I was talking about, where that fragmenting felt like my brain was shattered. I'm here for a purpose and I need to figure out what that purpose is. I feel like I have finally found what that is and I'm aligned with that. And I'm so, so excited to be able to do what I'm doing and to help adoptees on their journey because it has been such an amazing transformational experience for me, and I want to share it with others. So please DM me if this resonates with you. I am happy to continue the conversation, and thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much for listening today. And if you found that something really resonated with you from today's podcast, go ahead and just DM me the word podcast at any of my socials that you feel comfortable to, and I will provide you with a free resource that will support you. Look forward to hearing from you. Have a great weekend.